Welcome, adjudicators, to another episode of Disputed, where two fictional characters go head to head, armed with only their advocates, and you will decide the outcome. Everything is disputed.
Oh yeah, it is. It is way disputed, man. That's and you know I should have had this ready. But I didn't, so that's kind of what happens as we just get things started now. I've been getting some stuff ready here, and and I will have the scroller going at the bottom, which says if you want to find out where to connect with us, go to disputedpod.com/links, and you will find us. So, Damon, would you like to introduce yourself, and then I will introduce myself?
Hi, I am Demond, father of two, husband of one, and first alternate in my high school improv class.
Was that it?
Yep, that's it.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, hello, friends, enemies, and those just deciding to audit the class. I am Dean. You may know me from such podcasts as Podscure. How Are You Now? The Letterkenny podcast, and the Boondocks podcast, as well as How Many Fingers Can I Fit in This? No, that's just a joke one. So,
Like, you can't be doing that. Man.
Oh man! So, how did you? What did you think about last week? Before we get rolling in the show, we should probably do a little recap. First, I should tell everybody. Last week, 2 weeks ago now, we debated Harry Potter versus Luke Skywalker, and it went in my favor, but. I mean, granted, it's the first show. I'm willing to say that we didn't have a lot of voters to tell the truth, but it was 67 to 33%. So
Oh well.
But it's all right, and because I'm sure we're going to have some people. I mean, having done the research for what we're about to do. The one we're about to do is there's a lot of stuff. There's a whole lot more stuff about these two characters, I think, than there is about Luke Skywalker and Harry Potter combined.
I am in big trouble because I did not get that deep into it. Oh no.
Oh man, yeah. There's a lot of stuff about these two ducks. So. So it's I was actually kind of surprised at some of the stuff that I found, but I'm looking forward to debating this with you.
Oh God, I'm in big trouble. So like the kid who didn't do his homework. God dang it.
Well, I did a bit of my homework. Now some. Those of you who are following us, you may have noticed out on our social media that there's been some talk about the Podscure podcast network. Now, Podscure is the first podcast that I created with my buddy Don. We've had Demond on the show, and it had a great time. It was a podcast about unique and obscure podcasts. Well, it still is. But everything else that I started creating under that, whether it was the How Are You Now podcast, the Boondocks podcast, Disputed, I just put everything was under the Podscure podcast link in my podcast host, Transistor FM. Shout out to Transistor FM. They're great. And in fact, I think Demond uses them for Demond Does. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, they're a very good host. I like those guys. So after working a while with a number of podcasts and then befriending Tim and John from Armbar Audio, Tim reached out to me and said, "Hey, what do you think about starting a network?" And I said, "Well, I kind of have one. I just haven't done anything with it. I mean, I've got the podcast, the Podskier podcast, which I do, but I haven't really done anything to really tie all these entities in together." So now I've created the Podskier Podcast Network. There is a separate Twitter for that now, which is Podskier Net. Out on Twitter, it's out on. We're out on the Facebook page. Which I think is just it's Podskier Net on there too. And now we're on. Just say. Yeah, that's so Facebook, Twitter, and yeah, that's really. And then I've focused our Discord as well to be the network. So if you go to our links, you'll find all those things, and you'll find our Discord and everything, and be able to get out there and interact with us, all of us. So, and now we've included Tim and John from Armbar Audio Podcast, a wrestling podcast, which I think Damon is going to be very excited to work with these guys on some stuff because they are total ring heads. So they love wrestling and not WWE. I mean, it's okay. WWE is okay, but they like the really obscure, the Japanese stuff, the Mexico stuff, all that. They really get into the independent stuff. So I thought you'd be very excited about that as well, since with your time.
Yes, that's right up my alley.
Yeah,
right up my alley.
Yeah, I think you'll love these guys. So I'm looking forward to having them on to debate wrestlers. So when we get to that point, I think that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So I guess who's going to go first on this? Who went first last time, me or you?
I think I went first last time.
Did you?
So and you won. So you won last time. So winner goes first.
Okay. All right. So then in that case, I will be advocate 1. You'll be advocate 2. And do you have anything you'd like to chat about before we get going?
I completely forgot to mention that I have a podcast myself. Damon Does the 6 Questions that had an episode come out this week with Shlomo Sher, who is a philosophy professor and video game ethicist. He actually started a podcast with another guest, Andy. What is last name? Andy Ashcraft, who's a game designer. He's a video game designer. They started a podcast about video game ethics, which is really interesting stuff. So
there's ethics in video games? Come on. I mean,
that's part of the debate, to be honest.
Just look at what's going on with Blizzard right now. How could there not be? Have you paid attention to any of that?
I've heard a little bit. I got distracted by your cup. I've heard a little bit. I heard there was a walkout for it was like, I guess it was a one day like no play because of the way they're treating women. I don't know anything. I don't know all the incidents.
Yeah, there's been. I mean, I think it kind of. You probably heard of Gamergate, which God, that's been 10 years now, if not more.
It makes even less sense now, to be honest. But yeah, I've heard of it.
But yeah, it's really just the gatekeeping that happens in fandoms, and video game industry is really no different. In fact, it's very much on that tip where it's a lot of misogyny in that crew. Unfortunately, I think it's just because there's all these little boys who don't know how to behave in public.
That and what's sad is they miss the irony of having a place to retreat to, and then gatekeeping people who are trying to retreat to the same place. That's sad.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, gaming. Really? Come on, grow up. Well, I mean, you don't have to lose the innocence of gaming, but fucking be mature. You can grow up and deal with that stuff. But anyway,
game's a serious business, man. That makes more money than the Super Bowl. Like that's serious business now, and
it is.
say, grow up. I'm like, they make some cheddar, but
They do, yeah,
the attitudes
do.
and all that stuff that needs to go.
Definitely.
It needs to go the way of the dodo or the dinosaur or whatever's dead. That needs to stay there.
Very true. Very true. All right. So now that we've got all the news out of the way and our plugs and whatnot, are you ready to do your advocate introduction?
No, but I'm gonna do it anyway.
All right. Here we go.
Coming to the ring, weighing in at none of my business, but he is a person that is a duck most foul. Please give it up, representing Donald Duck, Charles.
Thank you, everybody. Oh man, yeah, I'm pumped. Are you pumped? Are you pumped, Damon?
Yeah.
All right. Let's see how pumped you are. Entering the ring, bringing forth the duck known as Daffy. It is Damon from the Damon Does podcast. Welcome to Damon. All right, man. Are you ready to get all this foolishness out of the way?
I want to dip. I want to just lather myself in the foolishness. I just want to just lather up and just wash it and let it just glisten out over my body. I'm just ready for the foolishness.
All right. That sounds like some Uncle Ruckus you got going on there.
Well, Dean, I don't appreciate all that chicanery. That's ridiculous. With that foul mouth, daggone mug you got there. Hey, the only thing black is black. Or black coffee is putting no white milk in it.
Well, Uncle Ruckus, I've got your favorite white podcaster on the line. Leaving a comment here. He says he's done nothing wrong yet. So, so all right, Damon, you are bringing the heat this week for Daffy, and I'm doing the Donald Duck. So
you gotta be careful with the Donald. Yeah.
The Donald the Duck. So this episode brings disputes between two well-known animated waterfowl who are going head-to-head to determine who is the best cartoon duck in history. Our rules are: the debate timing is 5 minutes for opening statement for each advocate, 2-minute rebuttal for each, host questions, which allow for 2 minutes, and then closing arguments for each advocate, which are also 2 minutes. At the end of this, we will give you instructions to go vote. And being that I went first last week and won, so winner's going first. Is that what you said?
Sure, yeah. I think I'm pretty sure I went first last time.
Did you? Okay. No, that's fine.
Sure. I may be wrong on that, but I thought I went first.
I'm more than happy to do that. So I'm gonna have to move myself over here, and then I think. Let's see if this works, because I want to bring up the. There we go.
That's so cool.
All right. So yeah, I got to do it like this. You can still hear me, right?
Yes.
All right, good. So, I am advocating for Donald Duck. On Friday, March 13th, 1931, Donald Fauntleroy Duck was born to the Duck family. Donald's father, Quackmore Duck, worked as an accountant to Scrooge McDuck. This is where Quackmore met Donald's mother, Hortense McDuck, sister to Scrooge McDuck. In 1920, they married, and 11 years later, they had Donald and his twin sister, Della. The Duck and McDuck families have been a part of the Disney royalty for over 90 years now. Donald got his first lead role in June 9th of 1934, where he starred in The Wise Little Hen, but it didn't end there. Donald Duck has now appeared in more films than any other Disney character, and aside from superheroes, he is the most published comic book character in the world. His films have earned 9 Academy Award nominations and 1 win. Donald, as also you may be aware, is a patriot. As you've seen, as you know, he was drafted into the Army in 1942 to go and fight in World War II. Donald ended up serving quite some time and only left after he was honorably discharged on his 50th birthday in 1984. He was also a member of the Navy and USMC. So Donald's, and which he did when he joined up, he has become an icon for the military service. Donald, not only a patriotic veteran, but he's also quite keen on education and is an honorary graduate from the University of Oregon, where he served as a school mascot from 1943 to 2010. And has an honorary doctorate of international friendship from Yale. Donald has always found family to be extremely important. When Della, his twin sister, had to leave to go into space, and her husband nowhere to be found, she was at a loss for what to do, but Donald was going to help assist her out. Without hesitation, he welcomed his nephews, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, who you may know from the DuckTales. He brought Huey, Dewey, and Louie into his home, raised them as his own, and it wasn't until Donald went into the Navy that he had his brother-in-law, Scrooge McDuck, take custody of the boys. Hence, that's where DuckTales starts. The celebrity recognition of Donald, nay, Dr. Duck, is almost beyond measure. In 1984, he had his footprints memorialized in front of Grauman's Chinese Theater, and on August 9th, 2004, Donald got his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, cementing Donald Duck, nice pun there, as the most famous waterfowl to favor our screens. And I give back my time.
Oh boy. Wow, that was really good. I'm in so much trouble.
So, rebuttal, sir.
Oh man. Wow. Oh gosh, what do I have to say about Donald? He has done quite a bit. I could bring up that his creator was not the nicest of person, but I have a feeling that will come back to bite me, so I won't. Wow, golly. I can't say those things. Man, that's a bulletproof argument. I really definitely picked a wrong horse here. I will say this though. I will talk bad about Donald for selling out and wearing clothes. Duck fight. Yeah, I'm gonna have to yield my time, bro. I've got nothing. Like, my brain is just completely farted, and I apologize.
That's all right, man. It's Donald and Daffy are bound to be pretty tricky ones. We've seen them for years, and we've got a lot of stuff to work with. So let's go ahead and hear your opening argument there for Mr. Daffy.
Oh boy. Okay, hold on one second.
Let me bring this up here. All right.
Hold on, you got to start. All right. So, I am here to represent Daffy Dumas Horatio Tiberius Armando Sheldon Duck. Also known to moviegoers as Daffy. And he first appeared in April 17th, 1937 in Porky's Duck Hunt with later sidekick, the indomitable Porky Pig, who actually is the most who's had the most cartoons of the Looney Tunes franchise, Bugs being second, but we'll end up talking about him later at some point, I'm sure. Early days, Daffy was less anthropomorphic. Wow, that's a really hard word to say, and resembles more of a normal duck. And the aspects of his character that remain consistent or his voice provided by Mel Blanc for 52 years, which is the world record for longest voice acting for one animated character. His black feathers and his white neck ring. Um, the origin of Daffy's voice, I'm surprised that the speech impediment didn't come up earlier with Donald. Um, actually, didn't start. It wasn't a. There's two stories about it. There's one story of that it was added later, and there was a story of that it was actually created at the beginning because if a duck had a tongue, he would probably have a lisp. But it was actually important to the character because, of course, we all know about his catchphrase, the slobbery, exaggerated. It's you're despicable. I'm not going to spit all over my computer. That's just gross. But what I love about Daffy and what makes Daffy one of the things that makes Daffy the quintessential duck, in my opinion, is because of the way he throws himself into his the way he seems to throw himself into roles with in things like the Scarlet Pumpernickel, which was when we found out that Daffy had the name middle name Dumas, which is a nod to Alexandra Dumas, who I didn't know until fairly recent was black. The exaggerated list was developed over time, and it's barely noticeable in earlier cartoons, and it just becomes bigger and bigger over time. And what is Daffy Duck without talking about his rival? And we're of course we're talking about Bugs Bunny, who's probably the wittiest cartoon character of all time. But we can also talk about all of his other appearances, including Lunar Tunes, By Humduck, the Looney Tunes Christmas. He even had his own show, but of course, one of his most famous adaptations is, of course, Duck Dodgers of the 24th and a half century, where he serves to protect the galaxy alongside Porky Pig, aka the Cadet, from Marvin the Martian. Daffy still even though he's still lazy, dim-witted, and sometimes considered a coward. Daffy maintains a heroic status on that series. The only exception occurring on a 2-part episode where he sabotages a peace treaty to prevent losing his job, which sounds very Daffy, an act to which the cadet takes the blame. Dodger later regrets the sabotage, saves the cadet from prison, and publicly admits his guilt. And despite being the deuteragonist of the series, Daphne is a supporting character in both of the Space Jam movies, as well as I talked about, the main protagonist of Duck Dodgers. So Daffy's that's as brief an overview as I could give with, considering we had 5 minutes and everything else, and I put it in your hands, advocates. I yield the rest of my time.
All right. Okay. So let's see here. Let me give my two minutes of rebuttal here. Let's see. Oh, wrong one. Oop. I always screw this up. One of these days I'm going to get this right.
This is why we have this is why we need as many section zeros as we can to figure all this out. I love it.
So, Daffy, for me, is a bit problematic. It's not has nothing to do with his submissive collar. He's obviously Bugs's sub.
Wow.
But he, even though that is the case, he's constantly trying to get Bugs killed from Elmer Fudd. He instigates it because he knows that it's duck season. He tries to turn it around and point it at Bugs. Bugs has done nothing except for be Bugs, and Donald is just pissed off. He also has been known to go somewhere trying to sell wares to somebody who didn't want them, and he ends up blowing the house up and killing the person and going to hell. Daffy is not a good guy. He treats Porky Pig like shit. and he's just, I mean, the speech impediment, that's not, I mean, either they both have weird speech impediments, and we just, that happens. I'm not going to fault anybody for that. I will admit Donald is more difficult to understand than Daffy, because when you're like that versus fluffer and fuckatash, it's it's a bit different. So yeah, so for me, I can't see. I have more of an affinity, and I don't like Disney personally, but I have more of an affinity for Donald, just because of that, and that's all I've got to say about that. Let's see. So let's see. I should be using different paper to take my notes. So yeah, that's so. You have any questions?
No, I'm just wondering how many I'm gonna lose by this week.
You know what? It's the thing is Donald. So there's a difference in how they were portrayed.
Oh, for sure.
So Donald being Donald has a temper. That goes without saying. He's got a temper. But generally speaking, every episode of him starts off, he's happy and optimistic, and when shit happens to him, he just doesn't know how to deal with it. So he gets pissed off. He gets upset. And so that is what it is. Daffy to me is just mean. He's just mean.
I almost went with a different route because Daffy is not the protagonist of the story. Bugs is.
Yeah.
So from Bugs' perspective, Daffy is the bad guy. But from Daffy's perspective, that's a guy trying to get his hustle on.
Well, that's what every villain thinks that. So every villain is the hero of his own story.
He's got to deal with Elmer Fudd too.
But yeah, well, Elmer Fudd is just a dolt. But yeah, Donald stands on his own, obviously, because he's been in more Disney movies and comic books than any other Disney character. So he's got a solid, firm ground. So, and like I said, I'm no fan of Disney, and I was kind of hoping to get Daffy, but because again, like I said, I don't care for Disney, but it is what it is. I will take who I'm given and go with it. So, if let me ask you this. So this would be my question for you.
Okay.
Let's see if I can do this. There we go. If Donald and Daffy were swapped, how different would it be for both of those franchises?
How different? Wow, let me see. Well, Mickey would Daffy, one of two things would happen. Disney is easier solve. One of two things would happen. Either Mickey Mouse would toughen up, or Daffy, man, this is hard to say for some reason. Daffy would take over Disney because iron sharpens iron, and Daffy is, even though he loses a lot, he is also pushing against the quickest witted character in possible all of animation. So dealing with Bugs, you're going against the GOAT. You know what I mean? It's kind of like when people complain about LeBron and they compare him to Michael Jordan. I'm like, he's Michael freaking Jordan. Like, really? That's the comparison we're gonna make here? Okay. He's not the greatest to ever do it. There's only one of those, and that's the kind of that comparison is kind of a problem. Donald, on the other hand, I think he would get abused by Bugs for real. Like, because Daffy, we would be able to set Donald we'd be setting Donald's temper going off with a stopwatch because Bugs would just roast him and roast him and roast him. But I will give Donald a lot of credit. He has very creative ways to keep himself from going nuts. So it'll be fun to watch Bugs push the bear and Donald try to avoid it. So that's how I see it.
True. All right. So we have a couple of questions out here. I'll bring these up. And well, it's just one question actually. Which duck would taste better? This is from Don of the Podskier podcast, my partner over there.
I have a terrible answer, and I'm not really sure how that's going to work with being recorded.
So my answer is Donald, and that's just because he's more plump.
That's true. That's a good point. You know what? We're going to go with that one.
So Don has some other options here: duck and chips. Some
Daffy would be
duck rangoon.
Yeah, Daffy would be really gamey now. Now sit here and think about it. He would be kind of gamey as skinny and stuff. Yeah, I think we have to go with Donald.
Yeah. I can't imagine. Yeah, he looks really stringy. Oh, and one other thing from Don here. Hi.
Well, hello, Don.
And yeah, I'm gonna have Don on here for he's gonna do all the Tom Cruise debates because that's his favorite actor.
From Louisville, by the way.
Tom Cruise is from Louisville.
He used to live here. Yes, he went his freshman year of high school was at Trinity High School, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Oh man.
Thankfully Muhammad Ali's from here too. So
that evens out. So you have closing arguments for what you have for Daffy?
I do. I'm trying to think of what my question was going to be for about Donald. What is, what, this is just for you in particular, you, Dean, not, defending Donald or whatever. What was the most interesting fact that you didn't include in your opening statement about Donald Duck?
Just honestly, they have a huge family tree of the McDuck and Duck family and how they all came to be. I mean, yeah, they have it all set out. I mean, I would have included that to show here, but I just kind of got sidetracked trying to write all this up. But yeah, they have. In fact, the guy who created him when he was working on it, he had that just so he would be able to remember who belonged to who. So right. I thought that was very interesting. But yeah, his I think the ones that I did include that I found most interesting, because I knew he always wore the Navy, the Navy top. I didn't know that he was also part of the Marine Corps and the Army, that he was drafted in the Army. The one thing that I did leave out about my rebuttal about Daffy is Daffy they tried to draft him and he was a draft dodger. So not only is a Duck Dodgers, he's a draft Dodgers.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, man, when I was doing some of this research, I'm like, oh, I definitely backed the wrong horse here.
But no, I mean, Donald's got a huge temper. I mean, he's been known to, if you piss him off, he's going to come at you.
Yeah, it's a wrap.
So yeah, those are really it. I mean, and I was surprised to hear about the honorary degrees and doctorate that he got. So Dr. Donald. Dr. Donald Duck.
I'm like, man, that ain't shit.
Yeah. Well, there was some good. Honestly, I will say that on the top cartoon characters of all time, Daffy rates higher than Donald on all of them.
Interesting.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
So, yeah. Let's see if do we have any other questions out there? Yeah, I think we've got all of them. Do you have anything before? We've got. Oh, well, let me do my final argument is unless you got one that you want to do.
I do, but you
Okay.
can go first if you'd like.
Okay. It's just that Donald is an American icon. Oh, not just an American icon, he's a world icon. Almost to the level of Mickey Mouse. So he's well recognized and well respected as a character, to have gone for so long, with having over 190 movies in his under his belt, and so many comic books. I think it's a testament to who he is as an animated character. So I think he deserves some respect for that. That's what I've got.
As well, he does. But I will say this about Daffy, who is a draft dodger. He has done all. He has a long list of enemies, a long list of enemies. But he also does have a long list of friends, and that's again what I will say about this, and what I love about Daffy is he is a lesson in perseverance, and he is as how do I put this? Yeah, he's a lesson in perseverance because he's going up against an agent of chaos every time with Bugs Bunny. And to show off his resourcefulness as well, and I meant to mention this earlier, he actually uses his speech impediment to his advantage. One, it makes, how do I get my finger in? There we go. One, it's a part of his catchphrase, which everybody knows is "you're despicable," right?
Mm-hmm.
Two, when he really gets into it, he's just spitting everywhere. He actually can spit on somebody, getting his last shots in before he gets his beak split over his head or spun around his head or whatever. So he always goes down fighting. So even if you're not winning, he go down swinging. And that's why I love me some Daffy Duck.
All right, then. I'll take that. So, yeah, I think this, I wasn't, out of all of the ones that we had put up in the poll, this was kind of the one I was least looking forward to, but actually I kind of enjoyed doing overall. I thought it was fun, and I'm looking forward to more like it. I know we're kind of, we'll probably be doing the animated ones more as one-off until we figure out how we're going to do that in the bracket tournament range.
Right.
But yeah, do we want, so the next one, I mean, I'd like to take the next one on the list from the polls. So after that, now Sam and Dean actually got a higher rating. I don't, however, I'd rather save that one just if I can. I think the next one should be Axel Foley versus Mike Lowry
Go ahead.
I mean, I love Will Smith. And I mean, he was kind of like for his time, he was like the new Eddie Murphy in a way, not quite as foul mouthed, of course, but, he got an early reputation, young age. And and them both playing cops, I think makes it a very interesting potential battle there. What do you think?
When you showed me, when I saw the list, I just picked a couple that I thought were interesting, and I saw that you had put that one. I was like, oh, that's the one I want to do. I honestly, I almost voted for it because my vote. If you look at the tallies, because I voted on each of them. My vote was my wife's vote. I was like, because I am participating, so it doesn't really matter, honestly, about my opinion. So I had her do it. But yeah, I saw that first four. I'm like, I want Mike Lowry versus Axel Foley so bad.
Yeah, I definitely want to do. I'd like to do that next. If we can, though, I think it would be good if we. I think it would be good if we tried to get somebody else to be our first advocates, and if we can get somebody who we've worked with, maybe Drake from Everything Culture, and I don't know who else, but I would. But I mean, Drake's the first guy that pops in my head. yeah, I'm sure that, if we could reach out to a couple more folks, I think that would be a lot of fun to that be our first, have our advocates in for that, unless you want to do it yourself.
If we can have more, if you want to have some advocates in here for that I'm cool. I'm down with that. That's cool.
It'll be our first true form pilot. So
Yes, and as long as the participants know, as long as the incoming advocates know that, it should be fine.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I think it'll be. Either way, I think it'll be fun. I would just love to hear it, and moderate for it. But so yeah, I think it'd be a lot of fun. So let's. So 2 weeks from this one. 2 weeks. We'll have that. Now, what you can do right now, if you want, is you can go vote at disputedpod.com/ducks, and you can choose which duck you choose for this particular dispute. So I've got Donald, Demond has Daffy, and that's where we are. So if you want to go vote, you can do so. The link will also be in the show notes just in case. But that's what we've got here. So, all right. So next week the next show will be covering we don't have any advocates yet, but we'll be doing Axel Foley versus Mike Lowry, Beverly Hills Cop, Bad Boys. So I think that's going to be great. And so
excited.
Yeah. So until next time,
everything is disputed.
I want to thank all you adjudicators for showing up, listening, watching, and hopefully enjoying what you're hearing. You can find us on disputedpod.com. You can find us on all social medias, and you can find our social medias through our disputedpod.com/links. And also, we would like to thank I need to get a better name, figure out this name. Tagira Juice for Hard Fight. Evil Bear Boris for Fight Club, Atake for Fight Makes Right, and Done with Fish by This Party Sucks. I'm sorry, This Party Sucks by Done with Fish. All of their music can be found on freemusicarchive.org. And we will see you next time.